Welcome back to Trekyards, everybody. I'm Captain Foley,
I'm Connor Coggins.
and today we're talking about a Prodigy episode, Preludes, and we got a nice little surprise, I think. We got a Tellarite ship, like Enterprise era, actually a little bit, yeah, well, it would be Enterprise era. It was pre-Federation, as we found out, so we're going to look at that today.
Yep, the backstory of Jankum Pog was that he was as in that what we knew beforehand was that he was on a sleeper ship that the Tellarites sent out into unknown space, clearly the Delta Quadrant, and he got captured somehow. This episode filled in those gaps, and they had a few ship reveals, and they used the canon pretty much of what we saw. Yep, they announced pre-Federation, so that means that Jankum is older than Spock. He's older than many people in Star Trek, obviously with cryogenic stasis, but he's, if you go by that logic, he's like 200 years old. How cool is that? And yes, here's a ship shot we saw, but floating as it gets hit by a thing, causes a thing, and Jankum has to fix it for like weeks or months. So here is the Tellarite ship. What do you think? And did you recognize it straight away?
I recognize it straight away. Yes, I'm like, that's a nice touch. We're gonna be talking about that when I'm watching episodes. I'm like, that's a topic. So yeah, it was nice to see. Haven't seen these since Enterprise. We haven't really seen a lot of Tellarite ships, even in Enterprise. We got way more Andorian ships. But it's good to see this. And the whole explanation of they send orphans. Orphans get enlisted for deep space. And there's I don't think that all 30 on the ship are orphans, but there's 30 on this ship. And so that was quite a nice reveal. And we also got the reason why Jankum Pog keeps saying Jankum Pog and referring to himself in the third person. But yeah, seeing the ship and the interiors of the ship were kind of nice.
I wouldn't have called the interiors interesting by any means. The interiors in Prodigy tend to be a little bit generic sci-fi. They don't link so much to the Treks, but there isn't much to link from, but I wouldn't call home about them.
I'm just saying it's cool to see the inside of one.
Or at least the sleeper bay.
Yeah, and the toilet.
Yes, the space plunger. Now it's interesting because this ship, obviously, it is the Tellarite ship, but it was also reused, I believe, 3 other times in Enterprise. So it is actually what do we have in our asset library that was barely seen? Let's throw this in. So it is, in fact, sorry, it's not quite as original versus the Andorian and Vulcan, which are all custom done. So pinch of salt there. It's fine. It's just there are variations of this design seen. They always change the hull color, and they change what's in those big bright pods. Now this ship has an issue which seems to, for some reason, plague this episode. Now, if you'll note, in earlier episodes of Trekyards, we discussed another ship that appeared, the Prometheus, meant to be a Prometheus class, that was the first contact ship. Now, there's 2 shots of it in the episode, one that's the Prometheus, one that's explicitly meant to be the Protostar. There's an animation error, and they show the Prometheus. Now, that's one error. The second error is both shots of the ship are upside down, for no reason. Now, for some reason, this ship is also upside down. And I don't know why both ships in the show are upside down. Now, there is no upside down in space, obviously, but the ship does have a correct orientation, and it's very interesting they chose that. So the next shot is actually the Tellarite ship in its actual configuration from actual Enterprise.
Wow, this is the upside down episode. Okay.
Yep, every damn ship shot, Stuart.
I didn't realize that. Wow, yeah. You can see the deflector type bits supposed to be on the bottom there. Oh my goodness.
What happened this week, guys?
They sent the animation instead of the normal place to Australia because it's the land down under, nice. And it's also known as the upside down, I guess.
So Vecna and Australia came together to make this episode.
Yeah, exactly. Vecna.
That's really weird, isn't it, Stuart?
It is weird, and I didn't realize this.
Because why would you? We don't see it enough. Now, the caveat being, it doesn't need to be the exact same warship, so therefore this design could be for some reason reversed, or it could be upside down in space. Those are both fine caveats to be. It's not actually an issue, it's just a silly error, because it's already a Tellarite ship, it's already from that era, just have it be the right side up. Or remove the deflector you could have, if you're going to either rebuild it perfectly, which is very, very good, or was given the studio model and retexture, which they've obviously done, swap out some details then, because they've clearly entirely changed the facade thing. I mean, that's what other versions of the ship look like. The Andorian one explicitly has this weird in a dome. So it's weird what they do and don't do.
It almost looks like they didn't want to take the time to do the Greeblies inside the dome. So they just said, we'll just light it. We don't have time.
Possibly.
Which is fine. It
looks great. I
didn't realize that there was detail in there. So
some versions there are, some versions there aren't. It's like I say, it's a multi-reuse ship. Yeah, so the Arconian warship was one of the reuses or first use, and that had those orange bits be big cannons. So there was no dome there. Domes then added later for other versions. So they were going to keep bashing new ones, but it's certainly a new iteration. But yeah, take out the deflector stuff, put anything else there. If you did that, I could say, it's a new refit of the same warship that they fly up. It's just a bit weird. It's not bad, it's just weird.
Yeah. I mean, this one has more caveats than the Upside Down Prometheus.
That's just a mistake.
Used for 2 shots. One was supposed to be the Protostar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Upside Down in space is relative, and the ships are just never shown that way on Star Trek.
Doesn't make the shot right though, because that's not what was intended. And it's funny because because you can see the windows of the bridge on, so they made an active point to put lights inside the bridge module to have lights. If they remove that window light and made those like 6 grills on the side windows instead, no one would have cared, because it's like, it's weird, it's been changed, but it's obviously just upside down. Now the next shot is me matching it. Let's see how close they got of an upside down ship, because this is how it would look. It's upside down, Stuart.
And as usual, Prodigy ships are pretty much spot on. Few little details here and there that are a little bit.
I mean, I feel like I would be shocked if this isn't the original model, because it's really freaking close. Even like the curvature is real close. Because why would you bother rebuilding the front? Like, there's a little point next to the 2 windows. Why would you put that in? You know, there's certain things that you would just skip for efficiency's sake, especially for 2 shots. But, you know, hopefully we're given the model and they use them to retexture it. Because, I mean, it's really, 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 really close. And you can't do this without having the same renderable model.
I mean, the deflector's not quite as oval, but that could just be a camera.
Yeah.
Like something, so
100%. Or just shrunk it, because you're right, it doesn't necessarily extrude as far, but yeah, it's relative. I do prefer the new texturing though. I actually prefer the orange. It feels more Tellarite to me personally. Don't know why, but it does. So I prefer how it looks now, and with the big glowing orange things which pop really well.
I didn't realize it was upside down. I'm like, that's a ship from Enterprise. Kudos to them. Awesome. But 2 upside down ships in the same episode.
Well, technically 3, because one's with Protostar.
I was just going to just say that, but
how does that happen, Stuart? Yeah. I mean, you do watch the. I mean, I know it's super like minutia, but it's a Z rotation. Someone did it either accidentally on purpose and didn't catch it. Like, I recognized it straight away.
I didn't. I'd say 95% of the people in the world that watch this will not have noticed it was upside down.
Yeah.
But you work with ships like all the time, so
instantly I noticed. I laughed. But it's great to see this ship. It's great to see its belly. You know, it's really good to see its belly. The first time in canon, it's shown its belly, to camera fully, proudly.
It trusts us. It's like a dog. If they trust you, they roll over on their belly and they sleep like that. So
yeah,
it's a sleeper ship. It's sleeping and it trusts us. That's the explanation.
And it's just funny because if I was them and I said, let's make a new variant, which is what I would do if I would just take some of the pods and stretch them or squeeze them and or add more pods. Like, do anything more than just fill the edges of the dome, because that shows they haven't made a kit bash. They haven't even tried to make a different ship. It's the same ship upside down. That's all it is.
And speaking of pods, we at least got to see an escape pod and or a shuttle. I'm not sure what that was. I'm pretty sure it was an escape pod though. Yeah. So we got to see Tellarite escape pod for the first time, I suppose.
Looked great. It was a good design. Yeah. It looked like this main ship. It was I was confused by the size because it fits into a 1-person craft, pickup craft, but also it's big enough to be giantly wet. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you see him getting into it as well, and it's like a 1-person escape pod kind of deal. But yeah. Wow. I mean, so you got bonus stuff with the escape pod thing, but then, I mean, bring back the old designs. That's cool. Use the can.
it's just weird. This is the official one-time, one-show backstory of Jank and Pog, and they made a big-ass mistake. Same with Prometheus. Like, that's the one time we're going to see that, possibly. It's like, really? You should give it a third proofread before you put that out, because you're not going to revisit that again, probably.
Yeah. And I mean, if it was deliberate, like, you see the bottom of it, you see the little asteroid chunk, like, that happened. They should have done, like, a rotation. So you see the bottom of the ship, you see the thing hit, and then, like, it turns and, like, zooms in or something.
Yeah.
But
two upside-down ships tells us it's just an oops rather than a let's hit the underside. Because that certainly wasn't visually what they were saying.
Almost seems deliberate at that point. Like, whoever they sent it to wanted to show the ships upside down. Because they're both upside down. Oh, all three. If you want to go three. They're upside down. Like, it seems like a deliberate choice almost. Like, who can make that mistake?
Maybe it was some guy who's getting fired, and he thought, hey, all I'll do, I can't change much, but if I just change the z-axis or whatever by 180, no one's going to notice. We've got 3 days till we have to have it locked. I'm getting fired in 4 days. Screw them. It's the smallest mistake I can make that'll piss the most people off. And again, not mad, it's just funny.
It is funny. It's just a little Easter egg for us to find and point out to you guys, and not to pick on the Prodigy team because they do a really fantastic job. The show's great. And like we said, these ships, when they're shown, are so true to the originals with a few little changes here and there, so we can't really complain. But that's just a weird anomaly, man.
I'm glad you didn't notice it because that allowed for this wonderful live reaction.
Yeah, I mean, whoa. I mean, most people that are watching this probably didn't notice it. So
that's why Trekyards.
Comment down below whether you noticed it was upside down or not. We did do an episode on the Prometheus / Protostar first contact ship thing, it being upside down, and the details that were included in that. So go check that out as well. Make sure you're subscribed. Click that notification icon so you don't miss any videos like this where we point this kind of stuff out. And keep in mind, we're not picking on Prodigy, so don't be mad at us. It's kind of what we do. If there's a mistake or whatever, we will mention it so that it's out there in the ether. So and if you want to join us for a live where we talk about these kind of things and sometimes make revelations like this live, please make sure you're part of the community and hit that notification bell.
And when you're there on the channel, you can click the join button. That's monthly, or on Patreon, that's also monthly, just not on YouTube, or super chatting on any video that we're live on, because it's super thanks. Super thanks, any video, super chat is live. So if you see that live button, if you see us talking, you can say hey in the chat. We say hey back. But super chat and say hey, you, thank you. And then everyone has a good day.
So until next time, guys, I feel like we should rotate our boxes so we're upside down for at least part of this.
Okay, for the upside down ending, Stuart. Which one?
No, you'll be looking down, and I'll be...
Goodbye. Goodbye, Stuart.
I guess I'll be looking up. There you go.
Goodbye. Have a good day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.